Hey everybody, my name is Leon, and this is my hackathon submission for the SparkAR Track 1. It's called Eyeballs, and my motivation for creating this effect was to allow fans to express their love of a sport by replacing the texture of their eyes. I focused on selection mechanics, as you'll see. In addition, I made it a point to localize the usage pop-up that starts when the effect is first triggered and included some motion triggered animation. This project is kind of the typical iris texture replacement thing that you'll see where there's face tracker with a face mesh, and then the eyeballs themselves are set so that their position and rotation are updated by the eye tracking portion of the face tracker. Originally, I was going to do something much more complex, which was to use a hand tracker and a face tracker, check for collisions. And then I found out that hand tracking was not supported under Instagram, and I wanted the filter to be available to the widest possible audience. So I considered doing it myself and basically taking the face segmentation texture and running some convolution filters over that and looking to match for patterns to determine when a hand-like structure goes over it. And honestly, that seemed, it was doable, but a much simpler mechanic was available, much simpler method, which was simply just looking for when the face tracker drops out. The face finder here is just standard stuff. It's fed in. And then we modify the eyeball positions like I mentioned. The selection mechanic for switching textures is triggered by this script, and just use an option picker with a counter to cycle through those and update this texture that's mapped to both of the back of over the texture of the eyes. Let's see. The motion triggered animation effect that I mentioned is this portion right here. So we have a left turn or a left lean will trigger it, and I've got some logic here that basically determine whether it's either leaning or turning left or right. It's kind of like a toggle switch here, and that goes on to either trigger an animation to make the eyeballs roll left or to roll right. I wanted the actual animation to run at a certain speed, but setting the time, it was a little restrictive just setting the time for the loop animation to a certain duration, because that also affects the speed. So I added an additional timer, basically, that with an AND gate that cuts that off, so that it'll spin at a certain rate for a certain amount of time, and then the animation gets cut off. And in addition, there's some logic on the side here that let me scroll over there. There's some logic over here that will pick between one or the other, either the left or the right animation. Okay, so as far as actually triggering the transition and also managing the usage pop-up and the localization, that's all done via script. The script interfaces with the patch editor here, and I've got a few different events, patch variables that I've shared. Trigger no face causes the whole counter to increase for the option picker to change, and the show usage is just a Boolean that controls the visibility of the pop-up text lines that I have. And finally, the usage string 1 and 2 control the actual text of those pop-ups so that I can localize those. So let me jump right over to the script here. I can talk about that. Nothing too complex here. Let's see. Basically, I've got a function here, send no face pulse, which triggers the patch pulse that to change the texture of the eye. I go through and I monitor the language locale and convert the usage strings accordingly. I currently support English, of course, Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, Japanese, Arabic, Korean, and Russian. Okay, when we start up, I know this is not the most efficient way to be doing this, but it is a hackathon and I want to get this thing working. So I ended up attaching a monitor to the is_tracked variable of the first face finder. And whenever that event switches to the new value of false, in other words, if a face isn't being tracked, that's when I send my pulse to change the texture. And then the rest of this stuff here, I trigger, this is called, when we first start up, after 1 second after the effect has started, to show the usage. And then 4 seconds later, I hide the usage using all this. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for your time.